"The train is coming, chica," my little sister Amara screamed as the ground began to shake beneath us. I was tied to one railway track, she was tied to the other, and our evil stepmother Ngozi had just driven away, leaving us to die like animals. The headlight of the midnight train was getting brighter and brighter, cutting through the darkness like a knife. "Big brother, I don't want to die," Amara cried, her voice breaking my heart into a million pieces. I could hear the train whistle getting louder every second, telling us that death was racing toward us at 100 kilometers per hour. "Listen to me, Amara," I shouted over the terrible noise. "We are not going to die tonight. I promised Mama before she died that I would protect you, but the ropes were so tight they were cutting into my wrists, and the train was only 30 seconds away from crushing us both. How did two innocent children from Lagos end up tied to railway tracks in the middle of nowhere, waiting to be killed by their own stepmother? Let me tell you the most shocking story of our lives. My name is Chika Okafor. I was born in a small compound in Mushin, Lagos. My mother, Aduni, was the most beautiful woman in our entire street. Everyone called her Mama Beautiful because her smile could light up the darkest room. She had long black hair that shined like silk and eyes that sparkled like diamonds. When she laughed, the whole neighborhood would stop to listen because it sounded like angels singing. "Chika, my son," she would say, holding me close. "Always remember that you are special. God has big plans for your life." I didn't know then that these words would save my life many years later. Mama worked as a seamstress, making beautiful clothes for rich women in Victoria Island. She would wake up at 4 a.m. every morning to start sewing and wouldn't stop until late at night. But she never complained because she was doing it for us, her children. She wanted us to go to good schools and have better lives than she had. My sister Amara was born when I was 2 years old. She was the most beautiful baby anyone had ever seen, with big round eyes and chubby cheeks that everyone wanted to pinch. "This one will be a star," the old women in our compound would say when they saw her. Papa worked as a spare parts dealer in Alaba Market. He was a tall, strong man with kind eyes and hands that were always dirty from working on car engines. But when he came home every evening, he would wash those hands clean and use them to hug us tight. "My children are my treasure," he would always say, "more valuable than all the gold in the world." Our life was simple, but we were happy. Mama would cook delicious jollof rice and chicken stew on Sundays, and we would all sit together eating and laughing. Papa would tell us stories about his village in Anambra, and Mama would sing us traditional songs before bed. But happiness doesn't last forever, especially when the devil has other plans. When I was 7 years old, Mama got sick. She started coughing blood and losing weight very fast. We took her to many hospitals, but the doctors said the same thing. "She has cancer, and there is nothing we can do." "Promise me something, Chika," Mama whispered to me on her last day. Her voice was so weak I had to put my ear close to her mouth to hear her. "Promise me you will always protect your sister. Always be strong for her. When bad times come, and they will come, remember that you are a warrior, not a victim." "I promise, Mama," I cried, holding her thin hand in mine. "I will never let anything happen to Amara. And promise me one more thing," she continued. "No matter how dark life becomes, never give up. Never let anyone convince you that you are worthless. You are sons and daughters of the Most High God. Nothing is impossible for you." Those were the last words my mother ever spoke. She died that night while we were sleeping, and our beautiful life died with her. Papa cried for 3 months after Mama's funeral. He would sit in their bedroom, holding her clothes and pictures, talking to them as if she was still there. "Aduni, my love," he would whisper, "how can I raise these children without you? How do I fill the hole you left in our hearts?" For 1 whole year it was just Papa, Amara, and me. We learned to cook simple meals and wash our own clothes. Papa tried his best, but he was a man dealing with car parts, not a woman who knew how to take care of children properly. Then one day, Papa came home with a big smile on his face. "My children," he announced, "I have good news. Papa has found you a new mother. Her name is Ngozi, and she is a very good woman who will take care of you." I felt my stomach turn cold. "But Papa," I said carefully, "we don't need a new mother. We are fine, just the three of us." "No, my son," Papa shook his head. "Children need a mother figure. A man cannot raise children alone properly. Ngozi is a good Christian woman who has promised to love you like her own children." The next day, Papa brought Ngozi home to meet us. She was a tall, thin woman with sharp eyes and red lips that were always smiling. But something about her smile made me uncomfortable. It didn't reach her eyes the way Mama's smile always did. "Hello, my new children," she said in a sweet voice, kneeling down to hug us. "I am so happy to meet you. I promise to take very good care of you." Amara, who was only 5 years old, hugged her back. But I kept my distance. "Chica," Papa said sternly, "come and greet your new mother properly." I walked over slowly and let Ngozi hug me. But when she whispered in my ear, her voice was different from the sweet one she had used before. "I hope we will get along very well," she said. Papa and Ngozi got married 3 months later. It was a small ceremony with just a few relatives and friends. But on their wedding day, I noticed something strange. While Papa was laughing and celebrating, Ngozi kept looking at Amara and me with an expression I couldn't understand. The first few weeks after the wedding, Ngozi was perfect. She cooked our favorite meals, helped us with homework, and told us bedtime stories. Papa was so happy to see us getting along well with our new mother. "You see, my children," he would say, "I told you Ngozi would be good for our family. She loves you very much." But Papa didn't see what happened when he wasn't around. The first time Ngozi showed her true face was on a Saturday morning. Papa had gone to the market to buy spare parts and wouldn't be back until evening. Amara had accidentally spilled water on the floor while trying to get a drink. "You stupid girl," Ngozi screamed, her sweet voice completely gone. "Look what you've done to my clean floor." "I'm sorry, Mama Ngozi," Amara said, starting to cry. "It was an accident." "Accident?" Ngozi laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. "Your mother is dead and buried. You think accidents will work with me like they did with her." She grabbed Amara by the arm and dragged her to the kitchen. "You will clean this entire house from top to bottom, and if I find even one speck of dust anywhere, you will not eat dinner tonight." "Leave my sister alone," I said, stepping forward. "She's just a little girl." Ngozi turned to look at me, and I saw pure hatred in her eyes. "And what will you do about it, little boy?" "Nothing, that's what. Because I am the woman of this house now, and you will do as I say." From that day forward, our lives became a nightmare. Whenever Papa was around, Ngozi was sweet and loving. But the moment he left for work, she became a monster. She would make us wake up at 5 a.m. to sweep the compound before going to school. She would give us only one small meal per day. She would beat us with a wooden spoon for the smallest mistakes and threaten to beat us worse if we told Papa. "If you ever tell your father what happens here," she would warn us, "I will make your lives so miserable you will wish you were dead like your mother." But the worst part was how she would talk about Mama. "Your precious mother is rotting in the ground," she would say with a cruel smile. "She can't protect you anymore. I am your mother now, and you will respect me or suffer the consequences." I wanted to tell Papa so many times, but I was scared. What if he didn't believe us? What if he chose Ngozi over us? What if she really did make our lives worse? So Amara and I suffered in silence, protecting each other as much as we could. I would give her half of my small meal when Ngozi wasn't looking. I would take beatings meant for her. I would hold her when she cried at night, missing Mama. "Don't worry, Amara," I would whisper. "One day we will be old enough to leave this place. One day we will be free." But I had no idea that Ngozi had much worse plans for us. 2 years passed and our suffering continued, but then something happened that would make Ngozi's evil heart beat faster with greed. Papa came home one evening with the biggest smile we had seen since Mama died. He was holding an envelope in his shaking hands. "My family," he announced, "God has blessed us. I have just signed the biggest contract of my life. We are going to be rich. Very, very rich." "What kind of contract, Papa?" I asked, trying to share his excitement. "A construction company needs spare parts for 500 trucks, Papa explained. "They will pay me 50 million naira. This is more money than I have ever seen in my entire life." Amara clapped her hands. "Papa, does this mean we can buy a big house?" "Yes, my daughter. We can buy the biggest house in Lekki. We can send you to the best schools in Nigeria. We can travel to London for holidays." I watched Ngozi's face as Papa spoke. I saw her eyes light up. "That's wonderful news, my husband," she said sweetly. "When will you get the money?" "I need to travel to Abuja next week to sign the final papers," Papa replied. "Then the money will be transferred to my account. But first I need to go to the bank tomorrow to arrange everything." That night I heard Ngozi talking on the phone in the kitchen again. I crept close to listen, just like I had done before. "Yes, uncle," she was whispering. 50 million naira. Can you believe it? More money than we ever dreamed of." My blood turned to ice. Who was she talking to? "No, we cannot wait for him to die naturally," she continued. "He might change his will. He might leave everything to those children. We need to act fast." I pressed my ear closer to the wall. "Tomorrow he goes to the bank. Then next week he travels to Abuja. That gives us our chance. The children are the only problem. If something happens to their father, they will inherit everything." "What are you saying, uncle? Do you think I haven't thought of that?" My heart was beating so loud I thought she might hear it. "That old railway track in Ikorodu is perfect," she continued. "Nobody goes there anymore except the midnight train from Lagos to Ibadan. Once a week at exactly 12 midnight. I felt like I was going to vomit. Don't worry, uncle. I will convince Emeka that the children need discipline. He trusts me completely. He will never suspect anything. When he comes back from Abuja, I will tell him they ran away. He will be sad, but he will have me to comfort him." She laughed, and it was the most evil sound I had ever heard. "Then all his money will belong to us, and our children in Benin can come to Lagos and live like kings and queens." I ran back to our room where Amara was sleeping peacefully. I shook her awake. "Amara, wake up. We are in terrible danger." "What's wrong, big brother?" she asked, rubbing her eyes. I told her everything I had heard. She started crying immediately. "She wants to kill us," she whispered. "Our own stepmother wants us dead." "Yes, but we are not going to let that happen," I said, holding her tight. "We need to be very smart and very careful." "Should we tell Papa?" "He won't believe us. Ngozi is too clever. She will make him think we are lying." The next morning, Papa left for the bank. Ngozi was acting even sweeter than usual. "My children," she said with her fake smile, "your father and I have decided that you need to learn better manners. You have been very naughty lately." "We haven't done anything wrong," I protested. "Don't talk back to me." Her voice became sharp. "Tonight we are going to visit a special place where children learn to respect their elders." "What kind of place?" Amara asked nervously. "You will see," Ngozi replied. "It's a place where naughty children learn their final lesson." When Papa came home from the bank, he looked worried. "The bank manager says I need to update my will before they can process such a large amount," he told Ngozi. He says I need to specify who will inherit my money if something happens to me. That's very wise, my husband, Ngozi said, but I could see her hands shaking slightly. Family is everything. Money means nothing without people to share it with. I want to leave everything to my children, Papa said. Chika and Amara are my blood. They should inherit everything. Of course, my husband, Ngozi agreed, but her voice sounded strange. But what if something happened to all of us? What if there was an accident? Who would get the money then? I hadn't thought about that, Papa said slowly. Maybe you should name me as the backup beneficiary, Ngozi suggested, just in case, God forbid, something terrible happened to the children. You're right, as always, my wife, Papa smiled. Tomorrow I will go back to the bank and arrange everything. But tomorrow would be too late. That evening, Ngozi made her move. Emeka, my husband, she said as we were eating dinner. I caught the children doing something very bad today. What did they do? Papa asked, looking at us. I found them going through your papers, she lied smoothly. Chika was telling Amara that when you die they will be rich, and they won't need to listen to me anymore. That's not true, Papa, I protested. We never said that. See how he lies to your face, Ngozi shook her head sadly. These children have no respect for authority. They need to be taught a serious lesson. Papa looked confused. He loved us, but Ngozi had been poisoning his mind for 2 years. What kind of lesson? He asked. My grandfather had a way of dealing with stubborn children, Ngozi said. There's an old railway track in a quiet place. He would take naughty children there and tie them up for a few minutes, just to scare them, just to show them what could happen if they continued being bad. Tie them to railway tracks. Papa's eyes widened. That sounds very dangerous. Not dangerous at all, Ngozi lied. Just scary. The train only comes once a week, and we would untie them long before then. It's just to teach them respect. I don't know, Ngozi. This seems too extreme. My husband, these children are becoming impossible to control. Ngozi's voice became urgent. If we don't discipline them now, what will happen when you travel to Abuja? What will they do to me while you're gone? Papa was quiet for a long time. Finally, he sighed. Maybe you're right. Maybe they need a strong lesson, but I cannot do such a thing to my own children. But you're traveling tomorrow, Ngozi pressed. If we don't handle this now, it will only get worse. I can take them there tonight, just for a few minutes, just to scare them. No, Papa shook his head. If we're going to do this, I should be there. I am their father. But your flight to Abuja is very early, Ngozi reminded him. You need to rest. Papa thought for another moment. Okay, I will postpone my flight by 1 day. We will do this tonight, together, but only to scare them, and only for a few minutes. Ngozi smiled, but I saw the evil triumph in her eyes. That night, as we prepared for what we thought would be our last journey, I held Amara close. Remember what Mama told us, I whispered. We are warriors, not victims. No matter what happens tonight, we will survive. But how, big brother? The train will kill us. I don't know how yet, but Mama promised that God has big plans for our lives. I believe her. I believe we will live to see those plans come true. At 11 o'clock that night, Ngozi called us to the car. Papa was already sitting in the front seat, looking like a man going to his own funeral. Get in, Ngozi ordered. We climbed into the back seat, holding hands tightly. The drive to Ikorodu felt like it took forever, but also happened too quickly. Papa, please don't do this, I begged one last time. We are good children. We love you. We would never disrespect you. I'm sorry, my son, Papa said without turning around. But you need to learn. Sometimes fathers have to make hard decisions. When we reached the lonely railway tracks, Papa got out of the car slowly, like an old man. His hands were shaking as he carried the ropes. Lie down there, Ngozi pointed to the railway tracks. "Both of you." "Papa, please," Amara cried. "I'm scared." "It's only for a few minutes, my daughter," Papa said, but his voice was breaking. "Just to teach you a lesson." As Papa tied my hands to one rail track, I looked up at him. "Papa, I love you. Remember that when you find out the truth. I have always loved you." Something in my voice made him pause. "What truth? What are you talking about?" "Nothing, my husband," Ngozi said quickly. "Children say strange things when they're scared. Hurry up. The lesson needs to start." Papa finished tying me, then moved to tie Amara. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely make the knots. "There," he said, standing up. "Now you will stay here for exactly 10 minutes and think about your behavior." 10 minutes, Ngozi agreed, but I heard something else in her voice. Papa walked back toward the car, but Ngozi lingered. "Sweet dreams, children," she whispered with a smile that would haunt my nightmares forever. Then I heard it, the train whistle in the distance. "Papa," I screamed, "the train is coming." Papa stopped walking. "What train? It's not supposed to come until next week." "Check your calendar, my husband," Ngozi called out. "Tonight is Wednesday. The train comes every Wednesday at midnight." Papa's face went white as he realized what was happening. "Ngozi, what have you done? The train will be here in 15 minutes. "I know," she replied calmly. "That was always the plan." "You lied to me," Papa shouted, running back toward us. "You said we would untie them before any train came." "I lied about many things," Ngozi laughed. "Did you really think I would let these children inherit 50 million naira? Did you think I would let them stand between me and that money?" Papa started untying my ropes frantically. "I'm sorry, my children. I'm so sorry. I didn't know she was planning this." But Ngozi pulled out something from her bag that made my blood freeze. A gun. "Step away from those children, Emeka," she ordered, pointing the gun at Papa. "Ngozi, what are you doing? Put that gun down." I said step away. Her voice was cold as ice. "You have a choice. You can die here with your precious children, or you can walk away and let nature take its course." "I will never abandon my children," Papa declared. "Then you will die with them." Ngozi pointed the gun at Papa's chest. The train whistle was getting louder. It was maybe 10 minutes away. "Please, Ngozi," Papa begged. "Take the money. Take everything. But let my children live. They are innocent." "Innocent children don't inherit 50 million naira," she replied. "Dead children do." That's when something miraculous happened. Papa, who had been crying and begging, suddenly changed. He stood up straight and looked Ngozi in the eye. "You know what, Ngozi? You're right. One of us is going to die tonight. But it won't be my children." Before Ngozi could react, Papa lunged at her. They struggled for the gun. It went off once into the air, then again. When the struggle was over, Papa was on the ground, bleeding from his stomach, and Ngozi was standing over him with the gun. "Papa!" Amara and I screamed together. "I'm sorry, my children," Papa whispered. "I'm sorry I believed her lies. I'm sorry I brought this evil into our home." "You should have minded your own business," Ngozi said, pointing the gun at Papa's head. "Now you can die knowing that your children will follow you in about 5 minutes." But Papa wasn't finished. He used his last strength to grab Ngozi's leg. She fell backward and the gun flew out of her hands. "Run, children," Papa gasped. "The ropes are loose. Run." I felt my hands and realized Papa had managed to loosen the knots before Ngozi stopped him. With one hard pull, I freed myself. "Amara, try to get free." She pulled and twisted, and finally her small hands slipped out of the loosened ropes. We were free, but Ngozi was getting up and reaching for the gun. "This way!" I grabbed Amara's hand, and we ran into the bush. Behind us we heard the gunfire twice. Then Papa's voice one last time. I love you, my children. Live good lives. Then silence. We hid in the thick bush as the train roared past where we had been tied just minutes before. The ground shook, and the noise was deafening. After the train passed, we crept back to see what had happened. Papa was lying very still on the ground. Ngozi was nowhere to be seen. The car was gone. "Papa," Amara cried, running to him. But our father was gone. He had used his last breath and his last strength to save us. We sat there crying until the sun came up, holding Papa's cold hands and telling him over and over that we loved him. 2 village farmers found us the next morning, sitting beside Papa's body. They took us to the police, but when we told our story, the officers didn't believe us. "Children make up stories when they're traumatized," the sergeant said. "This woman you're talking about probably ran away when your father had his heart attack. You should be grateful someone tried to help you." They said Papa died of a heart attack. They said there was no evidence of any gun or any woman. They said we were in shock and imagining things. Ngozi had been very clever. She had taken the gun and probably buried it somewhere. She had driven Papa's car far away and abandoned it. She had made it look like Papa had brought us to the railway tracks himself and then died of natural causes. With no family to take care of us, we were sent to an orphanage in Ibadan. But Amara and I knew we couldn't stay there. We knew that somehow, some way, Ngozi might find us and finish what she started. So after 3 months, we ran away from the orphanage. We lived on the streets for 6 months, eating from garbage bins and sleeping under bridges. But I never forgot Mama's words. "You are warriors, not victims. Nothing is impossible for you." One day, when I was begging for food outside a mosque, an old man named Al-Haji Musa Ibrahim saw us. "What are you children doing on the streets?" he asked kindly. I told him our story. He listened carefully, then shook his head. "What kind of evil exists in this world?" he said sadly. "But Allah has brought you to me for a reason. Come, I will take care of you." Al-Haji Musa had no children of his own. His wife had died many years before. He took us to his house in Kano and treated us like his own children. "Education is the only weapon against poverty," he told us. "I will send you to school. You will study hard and make something of yourselves." And that's exactly what we did. I threw myself into my studies like a man possessed. Every day I remembered Papa's sacrifice and Mama's words. Every night I promised myself that we would become so successful that no one could ever hurt us again. Amara was even smarter than me. By the time she was 16, she was already taking university courses in mathematics and computer science. When I graduated from secondary school, I received a scholarship to study business at Ahmadu Bello University. I graduated with first-class honors. While I was in university, I started a small business, buying and selling goods between different cities. I used every naira I earned to expand the business. After graduation, I focused on import and export. I would wake up at 4 a.m. to make phone calls to suppliers in China. I would work until midnight writing business proposals. Within 5 years, my company was making millions of naira. Within 10 years, I was one of the youngest billionaires in Nigeria. Amara also built her own technology company, creating software that helped businesses across Africa manage their operations. By 2023, we were among the most successful business leaders in Nigeria. But we had never tried to find Ngozi. We were too busy building our empire. Then one day I received a phone call that changed everything. "Is this Mr. Chika Okafor?" the voice asked. "Yes, who is this?" "My name is Inspector Johnson Adebayo. I'm calling about a case from 2005. We have reopened the investigation into your father's death." My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" "We arrested a woman yesterday for trying to poison her current husband. She confessed to several other crimes, including the murder of one Chief Emeka Okafor in 2005. "Where are you?" I asked, my hands shaking. "Lagos State Police Headquarters. Can you come immediately?" The next day, Amara and I flew to Lagos in my private jet. When we walked into the police station, everyone stared at us. We were no longer the poor, orphaned children who had been ignored 18 years ago. We were powerful, successful adults who commanded respect. Inspector Adebayo led us to an interview room. The woman's name is Ngozi Okafor. She was arrested for attempting to kill her fourth husband, a wealthy businessman in Abuja. During questioning, she broke down and confessed to murdering your father. "Where is she?" I asked. "In the detention cell, but before you see her, I should tell you what she said. She claimed that you and your sister died that night. She said the train killed you both. She seemed shocked when I told her you were alive." They brought Ngozi into the room. She had aged terribly. Her hair was gray, her face was wrinkled, and her eyes looked crazy. When she saw us, she screamed, "You're dead!" "I saw the train. I heard it pass over you. You can't be alive." "But we are alive, Ngozi," I said calmly. "We survived, and we thrived." "No, no, no." She shook her head wildly. "You were supposed to die. That was the plan. You were supposed to die so I could inherit the money." "What money, Ngozi?" Amara asked. "Papa never got his 50 million naira because you killed him before he could sign the final contract." Ngozi's face went white. "What do you mean?" "The contract was cancelled when Papa died," I explained. "The construction company found another supplier. You killed Papa for nothing. You gained nothing. But I inherited his business, his house, everything." "You inherited debt," I continued. "Papa had borrowed money to prepare for that big contract. When he died, the bank took everything to pay his loans. You got nothing but an empty house and a worthless business." Ngozi stared at us in horror, realizing that her evil plan had been completely pointless. "And while you were struggling in poverty," Amara added, "we built business empires worth billions of naira. We became everything Papa dreamed we could be." "That's impossible," Ngozi whispered. "You were just children, poor orphans." "We were children with a purpose," I replied. "Children who remembered their mother's words. Children who refused to be victims." I pulled out my phone and showed her pictures of our companies, our offices, our success. "This is Chika International Holdings," I said. "I employ over 10,000 people across Africa. This is Amara Digital Solutions, my sister's company that has contracts with governments across the continent. We own houses in Lagos, Abuja, London, and New York," Amara continued. "We have more money than Papa ever dreamed of having, and we earned every naira honestly." Ngozi broke down completely. "I destroyed everything for nothing. I killed a good man for nothing. I spent 18 years believing I had won, but I had lost everything." "You didn't just lose money, Ngozi," I said, standing up. "You lost your soul. You became a monster who tried to kill innocent children. And now you will pay for your crimes." The judge sentenced Ngozi to life in prison for murder. She is now 65 years old and will die behind bars, never again able to hurt anyone. As for Amara and me, we established the Emeka and Aduni Okafor Foundation in memory of our parents. We provide scholarships for orphaned children and build schools in poor communities. We also bought the old railway track where Ngozi tried to kill us and turned it into a beautiful memorial park for children who have lost their parents. Every year, on the anniversary of that terrible night, we visit Papa's grave and tell him about our achievements. "We kept our promise, Papa," I always say. "We lived good lives. We became successful, honest people who help others. We never let evil defeat us." The boy who was tied to railway tracks 18 years ago is now CEO of one of Nigeria's largest companies. The little girl who cried for her father's protection is now a technology pioneer whose innovations are changing Africa. We learned that evil may win battles, but good always wins the war. We learned that children who refuse to be victims can grow up to be victors. And most importantly, we learned that a mother's dying words can echo through generations, giving strength to her children even when all hope seems lost. Mama was right. God did have big plans for our lives, plans that were bigger than Ngozi's evil, plans that were stronger than poverty, plans that turned two orphaned children into powerful leaders who use their success to help others. This is our story, the story of how the worst night of our lives became the foundation for the best lives we could imagine, the story of how two children refused to die and instead chose to live gloriously. Today, when young people ask me for advice, I tell them what Mama told me. You are warriors, not victims. No matter how dark life becomes, never give up. Nothing is impossible for you. Because if two children can survive being tied to railway tracks and grow up to become billionaire CEOs, then truly nothing is impossible. The train that was meant to end our story instead became the beginning of our greatest chapter. And that, my friends, is the power of refusing to surrender to evil.